How might you, as a nursing administrator, address recruitment and retention strategies in your setting and utilize principles of servant leadership and at least two other leadership approaches? I think foremost that nursing, recruitment, and retention go hand in hand regardless of which approach of leadership that you use. Healthcare is definitely a servant leadership environment because we are there for the patients. We're there to heal patients. Everything we do is not for ourselves, but for others. But in order to get the correct people into that environment, we need to look outside of that arena and determine what's the best way to do it. Coming from a business background, I find that it's also difficult to retain and recruit employees based on just trying to fill the seats. The same goes for nurses. We can't just fill the uniform, so to speak. So we have to find the right people. And to do that, we have to, in my opinion, have a good environment for them. And I think with the strength-based leadership, that focuses on developing those good skills that they bring in, enhancing the skills that they already have within the environment that we've set up. And that environment that we've set up, hoping to retain and further implement and develop these individuals has to be a good, pleasing environment that ensures not only physical safety for the workers as well as the patients, but also, let's say, an environment that's non-judgmental. So there has to be some harmony there. And I think when you show that you're invested in that person and you're invested in their development, that your environment feels like one of mutual respect. Another portion I feel that should be addressed along with that workforce is that today's graduate nurses have a different mindset from, I don't want to say old school nurses, but traditional graduates entering the workforce. And in order to build and retain a seasoned workforce, some of the approaches that we need to take need to be changed in order to cater to that mindset. My thought, building along with that strength-based leadership, also is, like Bon Secours does, a partnering with nursing programs to attract new graduates. And that could be done through externship or mentoring programs, where we partner them up with seasoned nurses. And in doing that, that also exposes those seasoned nurses to building some of their own skill sets, showing that we're still invested in them. They're not just old hat because we're bringing new nurses in, but those two things together can really build a positive environment, not just with, emotionally, but by authentically showing that we're invested in the growth and we have that commitment to our employees. Another thing that I think need to be addressed is the 6-month to 1 year turnover. A lot of nurses come in and they take jobs and they think, well, I want to be a peds nurse, or, everybody wants to be a peds nurse, but they will take a job on a med surg floor and they'll occupy that space for the 6-month experience amount of time or the 1 year experience amount of time, and then they leave. So there's no real retention there. And it goes back to my point where we are trying to hire good quality people for that position. Instead of just filling the uniforms, we need to find people for those positions. If we're hiring for med-surg nurses, we need to find med-surg nurses. We don't need to find peds nurses who want to costume themselves as peds nurses. Let's take that energy and invest that time and build those skills of the people who want to be in that environment. Granted, sometimes people are converted, but in my experience, when a newer graduate comes in, they already have those mindsets and they feel, they have plenty of time on their side. They have longevity. So it's nothing for them to say, okay, well, I'm unsatisfied here. Well, I'll just go here. It's not like before when you would come into a job and, you would be invested. You want to stay there. You want to build. So we definitely want that good mentoring program. We want that externship, and maybe even turning the mentor or a stewardship programs for those senior nurses then to help those new nurses coming in navigate that first year of clinical nursing, because it is so trying and it's so stressful. It's very different to be a student nurse than it is to be a clinical nurse. The weight on your shoulders is just enormous, and we don't, I feel, do a very good job uh, em- empowering those nurses. But by setting up those good programs, we could do that. We could offer better incentives for new recruitment and existing employees bringing in new recruitment, and really set up that good shared governance within our unit-based councils, get them involved in some decision making so that they have that buy-in, knowing that their voice makes a difference in the decisions that are made, going back to that leadership and showing that we have awareness of their voice, we're listening to them, we're committed to their growth, and we're building within our employment community. But by doing all of those things and going back to a good foundation within our lost my train of thought within our servant leadership, building with just that strength base and some leadership executive competencies, we can retain a good workforce and build and hopefully keep that retention level up.